Hello and welcome to my Future Primitive channel. Today I'd like to show you this unique arcade machine. It's a real time capsule to a great era in video game history. This is a Taito Lunar Rescue dedicated cocktail table from 1979, made just 1 year after Taito's legendary Space Invaders. Lunar Rescue is a spin-off to Space Invaders. It tends to be uncommon here in North America. I find it to be very underrated, and it's one of my favorite video games of that era. I'd like to open up the cabinet for you to show you some of the maintenance I did to repair it, and also I'd like to show you some gameplay, so let's check it out. Wow, if I could show you what the game looked like before. Of course now it looks nice, but before it had just tons of dust bunnies everywhere, just dirt, like layers and decades of dirt everywhere. I mean, you couldn't read any of the labels, you couldn't even tell this little switch in the corner behind that transformer was there. Now see, the previous owners, they had no idea that switch was there. So they would be running their game on 100 volts, which is the Japanese setting, and they're running it here in America on the wrong setting, and we use like 110 to 120 here. So it was kind of nuts because they probably could have been running that on Japanese setting for at least a decade or so. But I fixed that up and changed it to the right setting. Cleaned it up real nice so that you could see everything. I also cleaned up the game board, which is in fantastic shape now. It looks just beautiful. I didn't really harm anything just by cleaning it. I used isopropyl alcohol and cleaned it up, and cleaned up all the edge connectors, made it all nice and neat. It was just covered in gunk, man. It's just terrible. But now I believe it's actually running a little bit smoother now because it doesn't have to worry about all that dust and crap. But I also I repaired the plug over there and completely refurbished that, put a new plug on it and everything, and now it's working great. So this is Lunar Rescue's attract mode screen. You have the Space Invaders telling you to please insert coin in a cute way. As you can see, you have some really nice, bright, vivid, vibrant colors. And that was kind of unique for the time because most games from other companies, from other arcade companies, actually use black and white monitors, or maybe they would have a black and white monitor with a color overlay to simulate color. But Taito's calling card at the time was that they would use the new color monitor technology to make color channels. And the color channels can change colors on command and do some cool things. Like, for example, maybe player 2 would have a different set of colors, or maybe like the colors change as your ship goes through and your bullets go through the channels, then it looks like a rainbow effect. Or even if your ship crashes, then it all turns red, which is pretty hilarious. Adds a bit of drama, right? So let's get the game started because I'm pretty excited about this. This is going to be the first time the original Lunar Rescue is featured on YouTube. So you see all the other videos with main plays and such, and that's fine, but it doesn't really give an exact or accurate depiction of the game. So let's coin up, and the way that I'm going to do that is using the service switch, so I don't roll over the coin counter. Much easier that way. Let's start it up. So each astronaut has 50 points there, as you can see. You start up in this little mothership at the top of the screen going back and forth. You use your single button, which is a fire button and thrust button, to stop the ship, and you'll start descending, going through all these rocks, and land on the pad there. Make sure not to hit those stars either, because those are mines, actually. So all those little rocks that you just saw just turned into these Space Invaders looking ships, and you gotta basically blaze a trail through all those guys to get back to your mothership safely. So that earns you a little astronaut guy for basically saving his life. So on the way down again, you can choose either platform, it doesn't matter, but each platform has its own specific point set. Very lucky on that, dodging that bullet. You'll see I have a lot of lives there, but I actually have that for demonstration purposes because I want to show you guys some pretty cool things, some funny Easter eggs that happen here and there. It's so funny to see those little guys jumping up and down saying, "Help, help!" This game's really charming. I think Taito was on a roll. They made a lot of really cute games for that period. So what you can do is, if you want to slow down your descent, you can actually press the thrust button, but what I'm doing because of experience is that I'm able to, you can use your craft and just go straight down without even pressing the thrust button, and you just like let it go, which doesn't seem very realistic, but I guess if you wanted to, you could dodge rocks like this, use the thrust button, and it gives you that nice engine sound effect. Really sounds like ocean surf, but kind of like OutRun when you win the game and you're next to the ocean and it's the waves are going back and forth or something like that. Probably save that little dude over there. It's a nice tune. So when you get all 6 astronauts, you get a special bonus of 500 points, including all the points that you earn for getting the astronauts there safely. So you saw some good gameplay there. So what happens if disaster strikes? That was my extra life, by the way. So what happens if you don't land on the platform? Well, you explode and go splat. That goes without saying. So what happens maybe... let's see if I can go on the way up and I can show you something cool. So a fun little thing that these guys put in, the developers put this in, is as you're going up and you're fighting through all these ships, say your mothership opens up and you accidentally hit on the side of it. Ah! Your little dude, your little astronaut falls out, and unfortunately then you don't keep your astronaut that you saved. So try to keep your guys protected, and because they didn't exactly think of crashing into the mothership, so I guess they have to work on that. They don't have any kind of safety measure. It just opens up a hole and he drops right out. There's a good line there. I'm not sure if you noticed, but there's a fuel gauge on the upper left, and that fuel gauge is important because each number there is actually put into your score at the, I believe, at the end of the cycle or something like that. So try to conserve your thrust, because wasting fuel, if you're just sitting there wasting it, you see how it depletes like that. Now see, you can dodge those meteors. You can do kind of a clever little stutter step, I guess. You can't really have a landing ship do a stutter step, but the idea is to do a feint to make the meteor think you're going one way and you go the other way. Great way to survive and go on the next level. So you might notice that it might be a better way. It might be better to just, instead of shooting all the ships, it might just be better to fly right through them. Kind of like that. As the levels get harder and you progress further, you'll notice that it just becomes too difficult to shoot all the ships. So it just might be better, in order to continue playing the game, to actually just plow your way through it. Just cut a little path and then make it to your mothership so you can get your points. The game's pretty stingy about points, unfortunately, so you got to make sure that you keep your lives and also that you keep your astronauts safe. That's the most important thing. Another thing to note, you'll notice that the ships that you're fighting against, the big ship tends to fire the fastest, the little ship fires the slowest but moves the fastest. So each ship is kind of has its own dangerous factor. It's so funny to see how those guys run with their arms behind their backs. It's hilarious. It's like a little cartoon. And they have to run with a funny tune. Dee-da-dee-da-dee-da. Makes me chuckle. It's charming. So I don't know if you can hear, but my controls on this game, they're all run by micro switches. So back in that time, what was popular was using leaf switches, which is just as well. They're just good. They're just as good. So I find micro switches, in this case, to be a little bit more helpful, because you can make some very quick, fast reaction either button presses or joystick movements. So if you want to move really quickly, it does seem to have a little faster reaction time. And especially for 1979, it was one of the earliest games to feature micro switch controls, so that's pretty cool. You can actually hear it each time you move the joystick back and forth, like that, or if you press a button. Yeah, see, if there's one guy left, they tend to shoot a lot, so you have to make sure you plow right through those guys. No mercy. So if you hear any background noise, that whirring sound is actually a cooling fan, which was a pretty cool feature for the time. They packed all these cabinets full of electronics, so they had to make sure that nothing overheated. So it has a big, large computer cooling fan and some little vents. So here are the Space Invaders. And they tell you to fight on in their alien language. Thought that was kind of cute, and it plays a nice tune for you. The tune does sound a bit like, I think it was something from Donkey Kong or something like that, but if anyone mentions that, the thing to note is that this game actually came out before Donkey Kong, so that wouldn't be the case, but it does remind me of that. Ah. That's the thing about playing and talking, you just kind of screw yourself sometimes. So as you can see, when you get through the levels, it gets really difficult. So you have to kind of get serious and strategize, I guess is the word. Use strategy to find your way through, because it gets dangerous really fast. Luckily, the mothership stayed in one place. Yeah, don't expect any world records. Even though I'm pretty good at this game, I just wanted to show you guys how it works and how it looks. So what I'm doing is I'm just letting the ship go down without using my thrust so I can conserve fuel and save some points. Just flew right in front of that guy without getting shot. That was pretty lucky. Yeah, so here we are at level 5. This is when things start to get hairy, at the very least. Very hectic. The ships start moving real fast, and it's very hard to keep up with it. It's all about prioritizing what your target should be. Instead of trying to shoot everything, try to shoot the most dangerous targets first so you don't have to worry about it. The meteors, unfortunately, you cannot kill those. No, it's not like Joust where you can actually kill the so-called invincible pterodactyls. No, really, those meteors are impossible to kill. Whew, that was close. Ah, I thought I made it. Dang it. That was a good try, though. So with your little thrust button that also works as a fire button, you can do some pretty clever maneuvers flying around, getting through these guys. And you have to get really clever to get through them all. This game has its moments for sure. Has those really dicey moments. Of course, when you first start in the game, you get panicky because of those meteors. Ah, that ship blinked. So the ships sometimes blink, and that's kind of like a moment of invincibility. It only happens every so often, and I highly doubt that it's a glitch, because in other games it does that too. But yeah, that's a pain, because then you have to shoot them twice. Holy smokes. Got him. Woo! Oh, very unlucky. Very unlucky. I did manage to fake out the meteor, but unfortunately it plowed into that ship. Yeah, no chance. And the game will do that to you unless you're more careful. You have to be really careful when the meteors start showing up in later levels, because they'll appear point blank and you'll just get smashed. That's a shame. Game over for me. So let me put in some kind of a name here. I could think the obvious, or I could think something cute. You can see how huge the name is. It's like 9 characters or something, so you can actually put in a full name if you wanted to. So how about this? There you go, Future Prim. So there you go, that's Lunar Rescue. Really thrilled to give you a first look at that because it's really hard to find these nowadays. But really hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to show you a couple of different ways that you can actually play this game if you don't see the arcade around. You can play it on a couple of PlayStation systems. You can play it on the PlayStation 2. You can play it on PlayStation 2 with Taito Legends 2. Also on Taito Legends Power Up on the PSP. Might be better with some light, huh? There you go. So Taito Legends 2 on the PlayStation 2 again. And Taito Legends Power Up on the PSP. Both fantastic games. And they're just filled with stacks of legendary Taito games. Everything from like shooters and side-scrollers and all sorts of stuff. Really, really great. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. It's a great game. It's one of my very favorites. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.